Let the food rationings begin. Have you all heard what's going on in Singapore? These island states, island nations. Singapore imports 90% of its food, to include 87% of its fish. Singapore just started rationing food. Now, they're not going to say, we're rationing. They're not going to use those terms specifically. But they said they're taking action because they can't, they don't grow enough of their own food. So the Singapore government takes action because of the high cost of food out there. Hawaii imports about 90% of its food. Hawaii. So what do you think is going to happen in Hawaii? All right? So think about it. If you're a nation state and you import the bulk of your food, and let's just say you don't have a whole lot of money, the food producers are going to send their, because remember, economics, the whole thing about economics is scarcity. All the other crap, the Paul Samuelson's, the Phillips curve, macroeconomics is all based, it's all stupid relative to scarcity. There's only so much goods to meet the demand. That's it. Demand and supply. Supply and demand. So we're going to create these fake ass these fake freaking graphs and charts to show that if this happens, that happens. It's so freaking stupid. But it's still based on scarcity, i.e., I got one tomato to sell. I'm going to sell it to a guy in Europe who can pay me £5 or €5, or I'm going to sell it to a guy in Singapore who's going to pay me, I don't know what they use in Singapore, 3 of whatever that currency is. Of course, I'm going to maximize my profit, so I'm going to sell it to the guy in Europe who can pay me the most. And do you not see how this is shaking out? It's the wealthy protecting the wealthy. The poor get friggin' destroyed by the steamroller. Always and everywhere. Always and everywhere. And what's going to happen here is now Singapore is going to be competing with those in Hawaii, essentially, to buy imported food. Singapore won't be able to keep up. And those countries say, we'll give you money to buy it, or we'll give you food to buy it. You think those countries are going to do it out of the good of their heart, or those countries are going to do it, we say, we'll give you food, but you're going to listen to what our banksters say. It's so freaking obvious. So Singapore says, I'm standing with Russia against Ukraine, or I'm going to be even worse, neutral. U.S. says, hey, got a nice country here. Be ashamed if you couldn't feed it. Got a bunch of nice people in Singapore. Be ashamed if you couldn't feed them. So why don't you do this? Why don't you back us in our demands of a NATO expansion so we can have a one world military force? Now you can say, well, Russia will do the same thing. Absolutely. Spheres of influence, man. That's what they used to do. Right? Singapore would say, no, we're going to basically negotiate for the highest bidder. So Russia says, all right. And that's how we were able to take out Russia, by the way, because we had more money. It's just that simple. Why do we have more money? Because our quasi-capitalistic society. It allows for more growth. It allows for more, literally just allows for more profit, which can be invested into other growing things. That's why America kicks ass, because even though we got lots and lots of problems, we're still somewhat capitalistic. And again, I say capitalist, not in the Marxist way, but in terms of the entrepreneurship business way of maximizing profits. Private investors using their own capital, risking it for profit maximization, which leads to growth. That's what capitalism truly is. Because corporatism is not. That's freaking what's basically happening now is quasi-socialistic, quasi-fascistic at the same point. Privatizing profits, but socializing the risks. There's nothing capitalistic about that. And frankly, there's nothing socialist about that either, because the government doesn't own anything. The government's just farming it out to corporations, which essentially is fascism. Anyway, so the point being, of course, every time someone says fascism, they say, oh my goodness, Nazis. No. It's corporations telling government what to do. The government is saying, yes, sir, we'll do it for you. It's corporatism. That's fascism. What I'm saying. Or you can even look at the way the government's telling corporations what to do. The corporations say, yes, sir. And then, of course, the government gets founded or gets... the people run the government based those people in the corporation. So it's a revolving door. It's the same thing. It's one and the same. Corporations and government and corporations, the exact same thing. Look up Jamie Gorelick, Gorelick, Jamie Gorelick. It's the same thing. Franklin Rains. Look up Billy Tauzin, Tauzin. Look up Paul Ryan. Look up all these guys. Trent Lott. It's all the same stuff, man. Anyway, so now we don't have enough food in Singapore, Hawaii, and the cost of food is going through the roof. How are they going to get their food? You think Russia's going to be Russia have that? Their Russian economy is hurting itself. You think they're going to be able to Singapore? No. So the good old U.S. because we got I guess we can just keep writing checks our butt can't cash, but currently we can get away with it. That's what we did in Ukraine. That's what we're doing here. That's what we did in Sri Lanka. And it's not just a U.S. It's the Eurocentric governing authority through Davos Crown. Now is Klaus Schwab the head of this? No, he's just a figurehead, man. He's just a puppet. He's being told what to do. Anyway, so the question is, what happens when more and more countries are hurting because they import too much of their own food? China gonna be able to feed them? Well, China doesn't have that much money either, as I've talked about a couple of videos. Everyone thinks China's a booming economy. Not for the vast majority, certainly not. Not relative to per capita. Europe? Hell, dude, Europe is relying on us. It's all big daddy, sugar daddy, U.S., as always. But the sad thing is, we don't have that ability that much anymore, don't you see? Our ability to fund and finance these governments is becoming slowly dwindled. So what happens when people say, the U.S. government can't do this anymore, you're going to have to be on your own. Then what happens? Then you'll quickly see how these people don't kneel or adhere to the U.S. demands. It's going to be very, very interesting at that point. We could feed ourselves easily, without question. And we could have cheap electricity, without question, and cheap energy across the board. These other countries can't. We're just the idiot, wealthy elite who want everybody else to live in the agrarian way we say is very romantic, while we're freaking using all the resources, but not letting anybody else do it. It's just that simple, man. Look at that beautiful clouds. Look, man, I still can't get over. The phone is actually crisper in view than what I'm looking at right now. Isn't that nuts? Hey, so food rationing's coming, man. And I don't know exactly what Singapore is doing, but I read from the Singapore, and if I think about it, I'll link to the webpage from the Singapore government about the actions they're taking. You're thinking, why do they import 13% of the fish when they're on a freaking island? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. Too lazy? They just got too fat and happy? I have no idea. I don't know. And if you're from Singapore, I'm not saying you're lazy. I just don't know. Why else would you do it? They rely on cheap labor. The days of relying on cheap labor are going to be coming to a quick end here. And as such, you better be prepared, man. You better be prepared, because if you're relying on imports for your foodstuffs, your day-to-day living, oh, jeez. It's one thing to rely on imports for a car. Well, you literally don't need a car. You can't eat a car. It's another thing to rely on imports, though, for food. That's a whole different ballgame, man. It's one thing relying on it for a chip to run my dishwasher. Well, the other thing to rely on it to freaking feed my kids, as we're seeing with the shortages on baby formula. Of course, I never trusted Nestle as far as I could kick them, so breastfeeding is always the way to go, but I know there's some people who can't, and I know that there's some people who need baby formula for various reasons. I get that, but what I'm saying is reliance on technology is proven to be, and cheap labor is quickly proven to be, not all is cracked up to be. All right, we'll see ya.